Welcome to the PLZ Soccer Show. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff is alongside me. The big talking point, Lee Wallace and Kenny Miller suspended by Rangers pending an investigation. This is for allegations of a bust-up with the manager Graham Murty. So, it looks as if Kenny Miller's kicked his last ball for Rangers, Ruffy. Lee Wallace, slightly younger, he might get a transfer.
Yeah, well, we know why Kenny Miller was brought on for another couple of years because of his whereabouts in the dressing room. So it's a strange one for me, that one. You know, Kenny obviously, you know, very experienced in everything he does, but when you get in a game like that and you get a hammer in the way you're hammering, things happen in the dressing room, and obviously it'll come out in the wash what was actually said to the manager. Yeah,
passions run high, but clearly there's a line that can't be crossed. But is this just another example of the disarray that Rangers are in when you have a manager that's been basically cut adrift before the game, and then a group of players who quite simply are cut adrift by all and sundry, you know, not only ahead of the Old Firm game, but way before that as well?
Yeah, I think obviously that's why you appoint managers. You appoint managers because they get the respect from the players. Obviously, Murty's come from the under-21s, so he would have some kind of respect, but not the utter respect that really serious managers have. So that's obviously been the downfall of this situation.
Yeah, so Lee Wallace, there's another situation. This is the club captain, you know, and I think he's still got something to offer another club. I wouldn't rule out him going back to Hearts.
Well, I mean, I think obviously reading between the lines, obviously the Lee Wallace one, I'm led to believe he declared himself fit for the game and obviously wasn't selected, so he obviously had a bee in his bonnet about that, and obviously he's the captain of the club, as you said, so he's obviously throwing his tuppence worth to whatever went on in that dressing room.
Yep, it's a state of affairs where everybody's having an opinion on it, you know, from Chris Boyd, Stephen Thompson, Billy Dodds. I've been reading them all this morning, Ruffy, and quite simply they're blaming the board. Something that I've been saying for months on end. I said he was out of his depth as a manager, but appointed because of the financial constraints of this board. I wonder where they go now, because quite simply a lot of Rangers fans are looking and thinking to themselves, well, you know, we hailed his arrival in 2015 in March, Dave King. Suddenly it's all gone pear-shaped again.
Yeah, it certainly has, and pear-shaped in a big way. Obviously, when you get beat by your rivals 4-0, I think the fans over the next 2 or 3 days will have voiced their opinion of they've had enough and they need more evidence that if they are going to close this gap, who is it in that board that's going to come up with 30, 40, 50 million pound? Because it doesn't look as if the people who are there in charge just now are prepared to go heavy into that. So it might be the outside, somebody else coming in, but I think the supporters have had enough of this board.
Well, they might have had enough of them, Ruffy, but even if, let's just say somebody else wants to come in and take the club over, do the guys that suddenly put their £18 million of soft loans suddenly decide they don't want their money anymore because they love Rangers? I think some people must be living in cloud cuckoo land, Ruffy, with regards to Rangers. This is, you know, some people have thrown out figures that they haven't got a clue about it. It'll need 100 million. It'll need a lot of money to pay people off. It'll need a lot of money to get this club back on a sound footing.
Yeah, but you've just said there, something has to be done because the present board aren't taking this club anywhere, not even financially. Okay, some of them might be dipping in $1 million here, $1 million there or whatever, but the supporters now are chipping in at least 24 million a year, and these people are using the supporters' money, and the supporters see that this money isn't being used wisely. Obviously, the carry on of bringing players in and putting them on 28 grand a week and 30 grand, and it's something that the supporters will be saying to themselves, wait a minute, we've just come out of a situation because we're putting these people on that kind of money, and now you lot have put us back in it.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the managers from Stuart McCall, didn't get the job, then in came Mark Warburton, he didn't work out after being hailed as the Messiah. Graham Murty came in a short term to keep the reins going, and then of course Pedro Caixinha, disaster, and then back to Graham Murty. You know, because of a financial situation, he should never have got the job in the first place. I'm now looking at this whole situation, Ruffy, and I've looked at this Rangers squad and I'm thinking to myself, forget about who's going out the door. I'll offer you another offer, you know, and this is quite simply, who's staying? I've got it down to 4.
Okay.
I've picked 4 of the squad that I think will stay, not because necessarily they're the best players, just because I think they've just signed them, and some of them I think might be worth a bit of money in the future, not massive money. I keep the keeper because I don't think he's
The worst.
the worst keeper about. Tavernier will stay. Obviously Declan John's going to stay because they just signed them. And then after that, Ross McCrory. Everyone else can go, in my book. And over and above that, I think you've got Alves, Pena, O'Halloran, Cardozo. These are guys that are on all good money.
Yeah, we're led to believe it's something like 80,000 a week. Players that aren't even playing, are taking out the club. I would probably throw Jamie Murphy into that scenario. I think he wants to be at Rangers. I think the Rangers supporters would take him on board. But yeah, I agree with you, everybody else. So there's nobody left there that is going to set the heather on fire next year. If you're a Rangers supporter and you're thinking about just taking up your season ticket, you'd be saying to yourself, well, wait a wee minute, what kind of team am I going to have this year? Because obviously the hardest part is going to get most of them out the door.
Yeah, and can I just give you something here which I think maybe people have lost a sense of perspective on, Ruffy, because obviously Celtic won the Scottish Cup semi-final so emphatically. Rangers are second. Rangers are second in the league. Are maybe people's expectations, is it... well, I said it would accelerate because quite simply people look and say, stop 10 in a row. And when you get to the desperate stage, people start really starting to panic. And this is what's happening here. This is a situation where lost so emphatically to Celtic, see the gap, understand what it is and think, 7, 8, 9, 10 could be coming quickly. But Rangers are second.
Yeah.
Is there a sense of perspective? Is there any defence for Dave King here and a sense for this board of calm down, this is a gradual long road back? Or is it just, we're 2 weeks away from Celtic could give them another cuffing at Celtic Park?
Yeah, but you know what supporters are like, Rangers or Celtic. They don't want to wait. They want something to be done right away, and obviously in the light of that result at the weekend, it's just going to move that on to hysteria, because if you said another defeat at Parkhead, and a bigger picture is what happens if they drop out of the top 4, which could be on the cards.
Yeah.
If they don't get their act together, their team's out there.
Hey, hang fire, you had them finishing second a week ago.
Did I not have them down at 4th?
No, you had them at second.
Yeah, well, that just shows you how things can change. Because I'm sure Kilmarnock will have something to say. I'm sure Hearts will have something to say. Celtic definitely will.
Yeah.
So, you're now in a perilous position of Europe might not be on the cards.
Well, let's look at the post-split fixtures for all 3 who are in this race for second. And I'm being slightly unkind to Kilmarnock. I'm writing them off in this race. But Rangers have got Hearts coming up. Then it's Celtic. Then it's Kilmarnock. Then it's Aberdeen. And then, which could be the ultimate 13th of May, it's Hibernian at Easter Road. I mean, 5 games basically where I think they need to take. I think they need to take a minimum 12 points, possibly, Ruffy, to finish in second.
Well, that's not going to happen. Obviously, Celtic will beat Rangers at Parkhead. So that leaves the other 4 games, of which 2 are away from home, 1 at Aberdeen and 1 at Hibs. Yeah. There's no guarantee that they'll win even 3 games.
So if you now move to they're going to finish 4th?
After that result of the weekend, unless they do something dramatic, which I can't see, obviously there's turmoil behind the scenes, that's never a bad sign getting into any kind of games, but if these 2 are the ones that have been suspended, I'm sure there'll be other players in there who've thrown their tuppence worth in before. I mean, we saw what happened with Coutinho the last time, when people viewed, aired their views, but we're not privy to what was said in that dressing room, but it must have been more than 2 people.
Well, I think the real race for second favours the likes of Aberdeen and Hibs, and I'll tell you why. Aberdeen have got 3 home games. If they can somehow, and I'm not confident on this, if they can somehow engineer a win over Kilmarnock, they've got Hearts, Hibs and Rangers at Pittodrie, and then they've got Celtic away at Celtic Park on the last day of the season. Now, what an incentive that is for them.
Yeah, it certainly is, but I have to say, in the light of what happened to them at the weekend, I think they're in the same situation as Rangers. Their form has gone out of the window. So I'm sure if you're in the Hibs camp, you'll be saying to yourself, look, this is an ideal time to jump the two of them, because you know, there's nothing happening in the background with us. Nobody's saying anything about, you know, what's next year and having it. They're positive going into these games, and they've got 3 home games as well. So, you know, if you were a betting man, I think you'd be betting Hibs just now.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that basis, Ruffy, you wouldn't bet against Hibs taking something off Celtic so that Celtic suddenly get set up with the game at home against Rangers to try and win the title. I mean, honestly, I'm not suggesting for a minute there's any sort of collusion. I'm just suggesting to you, listen, it's written in the stars here. They've tried everything they can to avoid it, but it could end up that way if Hibs can take something from Celtic. And then, of course, there's Kilmarnock, Aberdeen and Hearts away. But I think the important one is Hibs against Rangers at home for Hibs on the last day of the season.
Yeah, and I think when Celtic play Hibs, I think Brendan Rodgers might just rest a few players. And that's not to say they're going to make them that weak that Hibs are going to run over the top of them. Hibs will have to play well to take anything off of Celtic. But yeah, it's going to be a really exciting time for the games, and it just depends on whether Aberdeen and Rangers can lift themselves up.
Yeah, and of course, Steve Cowan was writing in the paper today, the former Hibs striker, that if Lenny finishes second, then he should get Manager of the Year. I've never actually read so many articles from people backing people for certain Manager of the Year. Second, Neil Lennon, not for me. Steve Clark, October, comes in, Kilmarnock manager, not Manager of the Year for me. Jack Ross, Stonewall, certainty in the running. Brendan Rodgers on the verge of back-to-back trebles. It's between those two for me.
Yeah, I think if Brendan Rodgers wins back-to-back trebles, it would be seen as a laughing stock. I think if anybody else got that Manager of the Year award, I think we spoke about it, how difficult it is to win one treble, you know, throughout the years, but to win 2 back-to-back is good enough for me.
Yeah, okay. Steve McLean has made a pre-contract with Hearts on a 2-year deal, 35 years of age. This is a strange one for me, even if he's getting a coaching job.
Yeah, it's a strange one for me as well. You know that you know, he's getting on in years. We know he can score goals. You know, he's done that with St Johnstone. But I mean, it's not a horrendous signing. But if you're a Hearts supporter and the manager saying going to bring in 9 or 10 players, that maybe make you think, you know, why are we bringing in a 35-year-old?
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't send out the right signals for the rejuvenation of Hearts Football Club.
Okay, Kieran Tierney's been speaking today. Of course, one of the papers down south has suggested that Man United are going to make that big move for him, Ruffy. He said, look, I don't know how emphatic I can be on this. I've signed a 6-year deal with Celtic. I'm not thinking about anybody else.
It won't have anything to do with him. You know, if Man United were to follow that up with the kind of money that the Premiership teams throw about, it will be taken out of his hand. It wouldn't matter whether he signed a 16-year contract. If the board feel that the money that's been offered in there, then they will take it.
Yeah. Okay, the confirmation came in. We had a one-to-one with Alex McLeish last week, and he confirmed that it'd be great to see Cristiano Ronaldo in a Portugal top playing at Hampden against Scotland. I just wonder if Cristiano will bring 10 other players with him, or he'll take on Scotland on his own, you know, and maybe play for the draw.
I just hope he comes, you know, because 9 times out of 10 there might be other things that make him not come, you know, because we've seen it before. You know, big teams have came and they've let some players off. I hope part of the deal is that Ronaldo comes with this team.
Yeah, okay. One other thing that I think, you know, just before we move on to things down south, that I think will really get people's back up is this VAR system, the video assistant referee, and basically this situation has reared its ugly head in a German game where Mainz were taking on Freiburg. The referee, Guido Winkman, and I didn't make up his name, you know, a letter here and there on that one, Ruffy, he actually called the players back onto the pitch after he'd blown for half time, because the VAR alerted them to the fact that, quite simply, there was a handball in the penalty box. So he brought everybody back on, and the Mainz guy had the penalty kick taken.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, if it was a penalty, it's a penalty. Don't care where you are. you get it done, you get the right result, and that's what they've did. Yeah, there's a lot of teething problems in this. It's going to get even make it worse from the World Cup if they start this carry on. I really don't understand why it has to go to somewhere out with the stadium to get this decision. Yeah,
okay. Now, a couple of things to finish. What a big goal Andy Carroll provided for West Ham, 1-1 with Stoke City. I think maybe Davy Moyes' side need one more win and they're safe.
Yeah, but I mean, that point is precious, you know, and I felt sorry for a wee bit for Paul Lambert as well. He's trying to, we're caught in two minds there, aren't we? Two Scottish managers that we want to see doing well, but it's one each, you know, and you could see what it meant to them, the goal coming so late.
And Pep Guardiola, I reckon Man City are going to sit down and try and get him on a new deal to 2020. They're promising him a £200 million transfer kitty for the summer, which is fantastic for him because he's only spent £448 million already, Ruffy.
Oh, that'll get him at least one player.
Yeah.
Messi, if he wants to. You know, would you put everything into all your eggs in one basket?
For Messi? Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's your 200 million away.
Yeah.
Go on. You've nothing left.
I would take Messi. Can you imagine the shirt sales, Man City with Messi on the back? It just defies belief, doesn't it?
Yeah, I watched a thing on the telly the other night. It was half an hour of Messi magic, and you just sit there shaking your head.
Absolutely, just Ruffy showing off, saying he's got a telly. Okay, just before we finish then, last point, got to sneak it in. Daily Mail ran a story this morning saying Man United could be ready to sell Paul Pogba, the £89 million misfit. For me, I think he's, at times, I think he's ill-disciplined as far as on the park. I'm talking about picking up, tracking runners, you know, making passes, scoring goals, all the things you would expect of somebody surely at £89 million, Ruffy.
Yeah, another player who hasn't come up to the price tag. I know he's got bags of ability, but not with Man United. I think you're right. I think they'll move him on. I don't think they have any problem getting their £89 million back, but I certainly think there's something going on between him and the manager as well. So I think the best thing for him is to move. Okay,
you can give us your view on it. You can go on at PLZ Soccer on Twitter, facebook.com/PLZ Soccer. Don't forget to download the app PLZ Soccer in Google Play and in the App Store. From Ruffy and myself, thanks for watching.
How's that for timing?